Harley-Davidson is using that as an excuse, and I don't like it. I think the riders themselves aren't happy with Harley-Davidson either, and honestly I wouldn't be in their place. What we're looking at right now isn't just a business decision, it's a cultural war, a branding crisis, and a political battlefield rolled into one. The clash between Harley-Davidson and U.S. President Donald Trump has captured the nation's attention, with some even calling it the battle of the century. Think about it. A president who ran on America First is now locking horns with one of the most patriotic symbols of American manufacturing. People everywhere are asking who's actually going to win this showdown. Even though Trump is determined to take bold steps, Harley-Davidson shows no intention of backing down. The question is, how will this storm finally play out? The legendary motorcycle maker Harley-Davidson Inc., once the gold standard of American engineering, has been struggling. Sales are slipping, riders are aging, and the company has been hit with an 18% stock decline this year alone. To make matters worse, President Trump has singled them out, turning Harley into one of his favorite punching bags while drumming up support for his trade agenda. That's exactly where the chaos begins. Trump's message to Harley was loud and clear. Please keep building those iconic bikes right here in the US. Don't play games, don't get cute with us. But Harley insists that the decision wasn't about loyalty, it was about survival. The reality is, the European Union raised tariffs on American motorcycles in June 2018 from 6% to an astonishing 31%, directly in retaliation for Trump's tariffs on European steel and aluminum. For Harley, this was devastating. Europe is its second largest market, and higher tariffs meant higher prices, pricing out riders who already saw Harleys as expensive luxuries. Manufacturing overseas, Harley argued, was the only way to keep their bikes accessible and competitive abroad. Harley's CEO Matthew Levitic even went on NPR to shut down accusations from union leaders who claimed the company had long been planning this overseas shift and was simply hiding behind tariffs. At the same time, critics blasted Harley for closing its Kansas City plant, eliminating American jobs, and using corporate tax savings to please shareholders instead of reinvesting in workers. So the debate isn't just about business strategy, it's about what it means to be an American company. Back in February 2017, Trump stood on stage praising Harley-Davidson as a true American icon. But fast forward to June 2018 and the tone had completely shifted. When Harley announced plans to move some production abroad, Trump accused the company of betrayal, warning that this would be the beginning of the end. On Twitter he declared, "A Harley-Davidson should never be built in another country. Never." But here's the catch. Harley had already been producing bikes overseas since 1998. They've got factories in Brazil, India, and Thailand, and had one in Australia until recently. Harley insists these bikes aren't shipped back to American consumers. Instead, those plants exist because tariffs and trade rules in foreign markets make local production the only way to stay in business. As Levitic explained to CNBC, these are important growth markets for the company, and without those investments we simply wouldn't be able to reach those customers at reasonable prices. Here's the irony. The tariffs meant to protect American jobs have made Harley's problems even worse. In 2017 alone, Harley's global sales fell nearly 4% and U.S. sales plummeted by 8.5%. Why? Because the very people who built Harley's legacy, the baby boomers, are aging out of riding, and the younger generation, the millennials, just aren't as drawn to Harley's image. Analyst David Beckel compared it to Cadillac or Mercedes. Sure, the brand has prestige, but if you're in your 20s or 30s, Harley doesn't exactly scream cool the way it once did. That generational shift is why Harley has to expand abroad. In 2018, about 61% of its sales came from the US, but the domestic market is shrinking, and Harley has openly said its goal is to make foreign sales half of its revenue. That's why they're focusing on India, a market dominated by Royal Enfield. Harley hopes smaller, cheaper 200 and 500cc bikes will help them win over young riders in a country where incomes are rising, and motorcycles are more than just hobbies, they're daily transportation. This expansion, however, challenges Harley's long-standing Made in America identity. For over a century, Harley-Davidson has been a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and American craftsmanship. So when they shift production abroad, it doesn't just spark political outrage, it shakes the very foundation of the brand. To understand how deep Harley's identity runs, consider this. The company even tried to trademark the legendary potato-potato sound of its V-twin engines. The sound itself comes from a patented 45-degree engine design, but Harley leaned into the branding so hard that they even named a conference room at their Milwaukee headquarters Potato. That's how iconic the brand's sound and feel are. Financially, though, Harley is just a small player in the bigger picture of global trade. In 2017, they reported $5.64 billion in revenue. Compare that to the US's $5 trillion global trade figure, and you see how tiny Harley is on the world stage. In India, Harley's sales amounted to just $5.96 million in the 500cc plus category. But Trump inflated the issue, claiming India exported thousands of bikes to America, while Harley was being charged a 100% tariff. The truth, only 2,440 Indian bikes entered the US in 2016-2017, and just 80 of those were above 500. Armed with these numbers, many provided by Harley itself, India tried to show Trump the dispute was trivial compared to the overall trade relationship, but Trump didn't budge. Harley had become his symbol, his political football, and he wasn't about to drop it. By June 2018, Harley announced it would indeed shift some production abroad to dodge EU tariffs. Trump lashed out on Twitter, accusing the company of raising the white flag. He warned that Harley's employees and customers were furious, and predicted it would be the beginning of the end. In his words, they gave up. They quit. They'll be taxed harder than ever before. Later, Trump admitted India had reduced its tariff from 100% to 50%. But even then he insisted Prime Minister Modi had sweet-talked him. What he didn't mention was that Harley's entry into India was part of the so-called Mangoes for Motorcycles deal between George W. Bush and Manmohan Singh, an agreement that allowed Indian mangoes into the US in exchange for Harley-Davidson motorcycles entering India. That deal, ironically, has been bogged down by bureaucratic red tape ever since. When you zoom out, America's $23 billion trade deficit with India is tiny compared to its $30-75 billion deficit with China. But the Harley dispute has been magnified into a full-blown international feud. And so we're left with two stubborn players, Trump, who refuses to compromise politically, and Harley-Davidson, which refuses to compromise its long-term global growth strategy. Neither side is backing down. So where does this leave Harley-Davidson? Will the company manage to reinvent itself overseas, or will the brand lose its American soul in the process? And will Trump's pressure help US workers, or only accelerate Harley's global shift? That's the big question, and it's far from settled. So what's your take on this clash? Do you think Harley-Davidson is making the right move by going global, or should they stay true to their American roots at any cost? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.